All right, so in this video, I thought I would give you guys an update to what we're doing in the trailer for the next big trip. This is going to be a pretty gigantic trip. We're going to go to 13 to 15 states, depending, and we're going to probably go to about 7 national parks. But let me show you all the things that we've got for this upcoming trip. So some of the things I wanted to do to the bathroom was I never liked the light switch cover at all. So I actually found these vintage ones on eBay, Ridgecrest from Ajax. So I found a double switch cover, I found a towel holder, and then a toothbrush holder. So I was pretty excited to find all that. This will add just that little bit of style that I was looking for the bathroom, because what's on there now is just plastic and kind of bland. This will add just that little bit of pop to it. I found this at Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to task my daughter with kind of just crossing off all the states we went to. We're not sure where this is going to go. It's just wood, and so we're just going to probably wood glue that on there. The other thing is, so after every trip, one of the things we do is I go over with my wife, okay, what was the worst thing from this trip? Was it the organization? Was it getting the food out? Was it the bathroom? Was it this? Was it that? So one of them was we didn't necessarily have a spot for paper towels to pull off, and then when I found this one was a shelf where we could put all of the teas and the coffees and sugars, some spices, and it could just live there. We really liked that idea. So this will be another project, but this will end up probably being a video in itself because of the way that it has this mounting. Like, I'm gonna have to fix that. And then this right here is almost like one of those closet pole mounts, and you have to get this in there so perfectly that it's not gonna work. So unfortunately, that's probably gonna have to be its own video, just because it's gonna take a lot to modify all those pieces in there. Okay, so the next thing is, how much water is the dehumidifier actually making? That's been a big question of mine, and I'm sure it's been a big question of yours. So a couple of the things that we're gonna do to figure that part out. All right, so one of the things that I'm gonna do to fix that is I've got these pretty cool old humidity and temperature gauges that we're gonna throw up here, right? And then I'm also gonna throw up this clock somewhere right here. So hopefully I can run a time lapse of this so that we'll know exactly what time the humidity was, the temperature was. So that's step one. But the major step has been, how much water is it actually producing? There's no way to really know that with the gauge that's in there. You're just kind of marking it and kind of doing some guesstimation. So when I looked on Amazon, I was trying to find actual flow gauges, and they have them for hoses, but they're kind of inaccurate. They're like plus or minus 10%, which is just like, I might as well be doing the same thing I'm doing. So I found one that is not only can flow, because this is going to be a burst, and then it's going to shut off, and then it's going to be a burst. So I found one. It's from an industrial company, Assured Automation. Not to mention, it's digital, and I got it in 1/4 inch pipe tap. So this one is incredibly accurate. Its accuracy is plus or minus 1. So you can actually see this. So it actually counts. So I could set it to liters, I could set it to gallons. So this is going to be a game changer to actually knowing what the dehumidifier is actually producing, in what conditions it's actually producing. So one of the videos that we're going to shoot is, what is it producing in, let's say, Texas? What's it producing in Colorado? What's it producing in Montana, Wyoming, just all over the place, California? We're going to do all these tests everywhere to try to figure out what it's actually producing, so that you guys would know if you try to do something like this. So this is going to be a game changer. There's a bunch of fittings and stuff like that we've had to do, but we'll cover that in the video. So the next thing is, I've never liked all of the wiring right here. This was just kind of like, it worked, so we left it. So I was watching a guy on YouTube actually build a drone, and one of the things he was doing with the drone was he was putting this braided loom So, and I found it on the same colors that we used for all of the strapping that straps everything down. So it's a black and red, so it should go nice. So one of the things I'm going to have to do to put all the gauges in here, this wire is going to have to go the other way and around, and I want to get rid of these and use the heat shrink with the solder connectors. So all of that's going to go and clean all that up. So that's going to be one project in itself, because it's going to be pretty tedious figuring out all this. Another thing is, on some of the road trips, we've had these chairs kind of slide down. So we want to create a kind of like a cargo netting, or if you've seen NASCAR, the nets they put over the windows, something like that right here. But there's so much going on here that it's going to take a custom piece made by us. So we're thinking we might anchor it to these and then to this, and then we're going to have to move this wiring. The other thing that my wife talked about, which was one of the worst things, was trying to pull out the Ninja, I think it's a Ninja oven?
It's a Ninja grill?
Ninja grill. Trying to pull that out, and we couldn't cook everybody's hamburgers at the same time because it was too small. So this is sort of like a bigger project, but the idea is right here on top of this, we're going to mount one of those Ninja double ovens, and it'll be mounted, because one of the things I was concerned about the Ninja was, okay, so if we bring it out, when we stop somewhere, we got to wait for it to cool down. And once it cools down, then what? You know what I mean? We got to like throw it back in there. We got to clean it out. So it became quite this hassle. So one of the things I was thinking was, if I can mount it right here. So I got to come up with a mounting mechanism for something that shouldn't have been mounted, but I've already figured that out. But the Ninja on the outside is going to get really hot. So I'm going to have to figure out how to mount it from its feet and mount it right here. And then it'll go right here. And then I'm going to have to move the water spout probably over to here. So that's going to be part of the rewiring, so that I can... this wire right here, I never liked the orange. I would rather have something more in continuity, maybe black, or maybe even something I can wrap in that loom. So I would like to have something that can wrap all the way around and plug in and be a little bit nicer. So the other issue is what you guys have already asked. How are you guys going to sleep in the trailer? How are you going to sleep in the trailer? So I was trying to come up with an idea. How can we sleep in the trailer? How can we do it? Because we got 5 people, right? So there's 5 people, so a kid could sleep on the shelf and a kid could sleep on the shelf, but the shelves aren't really that deep, but it, you know, so in a pinch you could actually do that. So the floor is big enough to do 3-ish people, maybe 2.5, 3 people. It's possibly big enough. But so I was like, where can we put the other 2 kids? So then the idea kind of came to me is we might be able to hang 2 hammocks in here. Now all the DeWalt tubs would be out, but so let's imagine that there's an eyelet over here. I'm just gonna hang it on that wire for right now. So there's the hammock. Okay, so now this is gonna come out to here and hang about right there. So this table would be down at that point in time. So if the table is down, so here's the idea. This flush mounted mount, which would pull up right here, I would probably mount that right about there. This supposedly can handle like 1,000+ pounds, so that should be more than fine for 2 kids in a hammock. So if I had one coming from this way, and then the other one coming from over here to that same point, that would be 2 people sleeping up here and 3 on the floor. And then the DeWalt tubs, they're watertight. We would just put them outside. So some of the ways I'm gonna go about that is I got these thick L brackets that would go in here, and they would take the load and distribute it over. And then the same with over here, they would take the load and distribute it over. So the I-beams that I got, I don't know if they're called I-beams. Are they called I-beams? So it's a non-opened loop. And I got these because they were threaded the whole way. So these are like over 5 inches threaded. So this would be up here what it's pulling against. So I would probably maybe this hole right here, drill it out so that this could go in there, so that the load from the whole thing is being distributed from this into the wall. So that's sort of the idea, is I'd be able to get 2 kids off the ground, because when we were at the campground in Wyoming, Buffalo Bill Reservoir, we got winded out. I think that's the term, winded out, where our tent was getting launched. So my wife likes that idea, and probably she likes the idea because then that means maybe in the future I'm going to adapt some kind of air conditioning system to this. So then we could go to hotter places in the summer and actually camp and not be sweating and almost dying like we did in Utah, where it was 118 when we were there. All right, so then the other project is, it's the water system. We've had problems with the water system, but I think I'll take all this into the bathroom. Okay, so we were having a lot of problems with this. This is a fill knob, and it actually, if you have the room, this is supposed to go in, and then this is supposed to screw onto that. Here's basically a shutoff. You can use it as a flow control, which is what we were using it for. But this right here was never sealing for us, like at all. It was never sealing, and it was leaking water everywhere on the inside. And then we had a problem with the vent. So there was constant problems with this not being able to go into the 90, into a 90. And I think we could probably cut this, but the other problem is this has holes in it. So if there's any backup right here, it just immediately shoots out. Not to mention it was leaking everywhere. So what I'm going to do is, so we're going to add a little bit more style with the light switch covers and that stuff. So one of the things I was looking at was this fill. I like it. It's stainless. And what this actually gets me, which the other one doesn't get me, is I can plug a hose directly into this, and then the whole hose line would be under lower pressure going in, and there would be no vent on this like there is on this piece. And I think that this looks a little bit better, but as you can see, this is a lot smaller than the whole thing, and we drilled a big old hole right there. So I was actually looking for, I don't know, a big brass piece, other piece, and everything was so expensive. And then for some reason, when I was on eBay, I found something. I don't even know what it's for. I found this thing, and it's kind of too big, but I was just like, I don't know, I kind of like the way it looks. It's got a kind of old, weathered, kind of watery look. So if you guys know what this is, let me know. Almost looks like it was for like some kind of radiator or something like that, and maybe these were indications of how much you're turning it on or off. But so I need to shave off all these tabs right here, and then make it so it flush mounts. And what this will do is it'll put the hole for this pretty much in the same spot. It'll put it right about there, and then I'll block that gauge off, and then that gauge will move up or wherever we want to put it. We can put it over here, it doesn't matter. So that'll block off both of those. And then this, I'm going to take this apart, and then I'm going to put this part on top of this part, but then all of this will be behind it. So I think that that'll look kind of interesting and different and cool. And not to mention, I found this giant brass thing on eBay for, I think it was under $10 shipped. So try to find a giant brass thing like this, like a washer, you're going to pay a lot. So the new vent, instead of plugging in right here, I'm going to run it all the way up so that it's really high. And I was looking for a bunch of different things to, you know, short of shoving some Scotch-Brite in the end or steel wool. I actually found something which I thought was pretty cool. I found this on Amazon. So this is basically the pickup of a pump that you would throw into a pond. It was the same price as the other thing, so I was like, well, I'll just put that hose in there and then just put that going straight up. So this should be one heck of a breather. So that'll be the project in here. There's also a bigger project that I'm planning on. One of the things that we've always had trouble with inside of here, it has been not this storage, but just like, where do you put a toilet paper roll? Like in here, like where does it go that it's not going to be in the way? So we've always had that trouble. We're going to put it way over here, so then it's in the way of this. So I have an idea, and it might not be a good idea, but it's going to be an idea that's very labor intensive. I'm going to make my own toilet paper dispenser, holder, whatever you call it. And it's going to go in this range right here. But it's been kind of like a pain to make, and it's gonna take a while to make, so I'm hoping I can have it done before this road trip. But it's gonna be a longer video, but I hope you enjoy it and watch it. You'll know it when it comes out because the thumbnail is gonna look some kind of crazy bronze stainless steel brass piece, so you'll know when you see that part. But I think that that'll be the updates for in here. Another update, the breakaway switch, when we got back, was completely just broken. Yeah, it got completely ripped off. So it's just a little bit of a maintenance. We'll have to put on a new breakaway switch, which is not going to be that big of a whoop, but I'm just letting you know that that's one of the things that we have to do. Another thing is I finally got around to it, and I mean finally. We finally got all the screws for the outside of the trailer. So all of these screws, because all of these screws are this, I don't know, kind of like zinc or galvanized. So all of these are stainless and they have a kind of like a nicer looking head. So I think we got 300. So I'm pretty excited to put those on. They have a little bit bigger diameter too, so that's pretty cool. So that's gonna be, we're gonna try to shoehorn all of that in before we go. I also wanted to show you guys this. We got the Jolka. It's a propane outdoor shower specifically made for camping. It also has a dish, a sink to clean the dishes. There's the tent. And also this year we're going with 2 of the 6-person tents. So the kids will be in one and me and my wife will be in another. So everybody will have a little bit more space, especially because we'll be traveling for a month. But I thought I would show you guys this. So we're gonna test this out during this trip as well. If you guys are enjoying this content, please subscribe to the channel, like the content, and leave a comment down below. Also leave a comment down below if there's anything that you think that we should be doing or anything that I'm missing. But this is going to be an epic road trip that it will last a whole month. Dare I say it again, we're going to about 15 states and probably 7 national parks. So we're gonna test this trailer all over the country, so please stay tuned.